And welcome to Concept. I'm Dr. Bill Loveless. Welcome and thank you for listening today. We have an interesting program entitled, I Am Me and I'm Okay. I am me and I'm okay. Before you go too far, this isn't a bunch of psychobabble. This is a real program. We're going to talk about you and the core values that you have and what makes you you. And I want to set this up so that you understand where we're going as we go into the program. I am me and I'm okay. Years ago, when this earth was created, the Bible says God looked at his work and it was very good. Genesis 1. Then it says, and he considered to make man in his image. Let us make man in our image, human beings, men and women. And when he finished that, in the book of Genesis, first chapter, it says, he looked, and behold, it was very good. When he made the earth and all the animals, fish and birds, and vegetation, it was very good. When he made man, it was very, very good. We are special creatures. You are a special creature. I love to read the 139th Psalm. It's an Old Testament passage which talks about how special all of us are. If you want to read the 139th, go there and read the whole Psalm. It's a very interesting passage. Don't do it now. Stay with us, because we're gonna be talking about how really special you are and how special I am during this program. I am me and I am okay. I basically have kind of borrowed this title from Virginia Satir, who's one of my teachers years ago, and I really admire Virginia. She was a wonderful teacher. She's gone now, but she did a very good job of teaching in America. She wrote a number of books, Conjoint Family Therapy being one of the books that I value highly in my library and use a great deal in study. And Virginia said, I am me and I'm okay. I'm a very special kind of person. So in all the world, there is no one exactly like me. That's what Genesis 1 teaches us. In all the world, there is really no one exactly like me. There are human beings. Some people look kind of like me. Some people don't look like me or like you. And you have people posing on television shows playing President Obama or President Bush or whoever, their part. They're lookalikes. And there are people around the world that look remarkably alike. But in all the world, there is no one exactly like you and exactly like me. That's something that we want to think about today, and how special that makes all of us. I own everything about me, my body, my mind, and my feelings. These are aspects about me that puzzle me. So everything about me I own. Nobody owns it, it's mine. My body, my mind, and the way I use them, the way I feel. Nobody in all the world is like me. I am an original. There is not another that looks like me or that thinks like me or that has the same feelings I have. There are aspects about me that puzzle me. And I really don't understand this all the time. That's like all human beings, so all of us as part of the human family don't understand ourselves all the time. We're puzzled about why we're depressed, why we're excited, why our feelings change so much. All of this is part of the special me. I own my dreams. I own my hopes. and I own my fears. These are mine. I own my triumphs and my failures. Everybody has dreams. You have dreams. What are your dreams for yourself? What are your dreams for your family? What are your dreams for your job? All of us have dreams. These are ours. We all have hopes. We all have fears. This is all part of what makes us who we are. And we're very special people. And that makes us the kind of people that are the person like no one else in the world. I own my triumphs. I own my failures. I have and I own those triumphs and those failures. I have the tools to survive, to be close to others, and to be productive. Please believe me when I say this. You have the tools to survive. You have the tools to guide your behavior. You have the tools to be productive. A very important part of the special you. I own me. Therefore, I can engineer me. I really believe this. We are owning ourselves and we can engineer ourselves. We need each other to help us. We need God to help us. But together we can engineer ourselves. We are not stuck with what we have in the world. We are not stuck with what was given us. We are not stuck with what has developed. We are only stuck if we think so. We can, given the tools we have, engineer ourselves into being someone else. So in all the world, there is no one exactly like me. Now, our relationships have an enormous power to teach us a sense of ourself. I've been talking the last couple of minutes about our sense of self. Some people call it self-concept. I don't like self-concept because that's a greatly overused word in my estimation, and it's kind of psychobabble. We don't really know what it means. So in this program, I'm really changing the idea of self-concept to a sense of self. We might even say a sense of self-worth, because as I started this program with the biblical passages, God looked upon what he had made, and behold, it was very good. And I was looking at human beings. We're all born with originals, and we're all originals, and we're all good, and we're all special. And we can engineer ourselves. And so the relationships that we sustain in life have a tremendous power to teach us about this sense of self. We can learn a very healthy sense of self, and we can learn a very unhealthy sense of self based on the power of the relationships that we have. So let's look at some of these relationships and how they work out in our lives. Young children know that everybody loves them. Very, very young children. Smile. I mean, when they're days old, weeks old, and months old, everybody loves me. I mean, they know that. They smile. They respond to anybody that comes close to them. It's a very interesting self-concept. Everybody wants to hold me. Everybody wants to be around me. Everybody loves me. I'm going to smile. I'm going to cry if I'm hungry or if I'm hurting. But young children are born with this innate sense of everybody loves me. Over time, we believe the information about ourselves that comes from our survival figures. Now, our survival figures at the very beginning are our parents, and later our teachers and other adults that come into our life. We're calling them today our survival figures. And these survival figures have a lot to do with how we feel and look at ourselves, no question about that. Given a loving, accepting environment, we tend to think of ourselves as loving, accepting people. as valuable people. This is given to us by our survival figures, by our parents, early parenthood. That connection is very, very important to our survival, to growing up like loving people, growing up feel that we are loved, growing up that we are accepted and that we can accept our environment. A very, very important part of our living has to do with these survival figures and this very positive situation that we're in. Conversely, if it's the other way around, living in an abusive or a neglectful environment, we tend to think less well of ourselves. In other words, if we're neglected, if we're abused, shouted at, spanked, shaken, punished, the world is a cruel place, the world is after me, the world is out to get me. That has a very real effect on how we look upon ourselves and how we look at other people and how we look at our environment. So relationships, our early relationships, have an enormous power to teach us about a sense of self. And that's where we find the clues when we're doing therapy. We find the clues to how people feel about themselves with those relationships, with their survival figures, and with very special people in their life. We develop then a healthy inner voice. I call this healthy inner voice our resident helper. It's a resident helper because this resident helper is basically inside our head. It sits there and it's helping us as part of our equipment. It's our resident helper. It's a inner voice which speaks to us. When things happen to us, it's talking to us all the time. What are some of the characteristics of the inner helper? Well, let's look at a couple of them now that our inner helpers, our resident helpers, help us think realistically. Okay, so you're dreaming a little bit. Is that really the way it is? Maybe it might be this way. The resident helper helps us think realistically, and it's a very accepting voice. It's a compassionate voice. Compassion for ourselves is the very beginning of our self-image. Compassion for ourselves. Feeling good about ourselves from the environment, from these survival figures, the adults and our teachers and our playmates all help us become compassionate with regard to ourselves and accepting of ourselves. Our inner voice helps us in other ways. It offers healthy coaching. I like to say to my friends when I'm talking with them in my work, pretend there's a coach sitting here on your shoulder. This is a healthy coach. This is a coach that's helping you do better in life. This is the inner voice that you have, coming from these people in your past and from the people in your present, sitting right here on your shoulder. And it's coaching you how to function better, how to respond better, how to be more compassionate, how to be more accepting. That's the voice of the inner coach. It's a can-do voice. It's an adaptive voice. Hey, the situation has changed here. I've got to adapt. I can't continue doing the same things I've been doing all this time. I've got to change myself. I've got to adapt. Sitting on our shoulder, sitting inside our head is this healthy inner voice which basically helps us adapt and change when we get into situations that demand adaptivity. Now, of course, we get in other situations, and we also, because of the environment that we come from, all of us also have an unhealthy voice, or what I call a pathological critic, the resident critic. And the resident critic can also sit on our shoulder and talk to us. And the noise that the resident critic makes is a noise that sounds like some of these things. it's your fault. Everything is messed up around here. And guess whose fault it is? It's your fault. You messed up. That's the resident critic. The resident critic compares us and says, you're not as good as the other person in the work. You're not as good as Jane or Dick down the hall at the office. You make a lot more mistakes. You're found wanting. Somehow, we're going to have to find a place for you. Compared to the other people around here, you just don't fit in. That's the resident critic. The resident critic sets impossible standards and then beats us up when we don't make them. Keeps an album of our failures. Oh boy, I've got a checklist. I've got a checklist of all the things you do wrong. These are some of the things that the resident critic does. It's a negative. It's a critic. It's a critic. It calls me names. I'm stupid. I'm incompetent. I'm ugly. I'm selfish. The Bisley undermines all of these bad words that we call ourselves, undermines our own sense of self-worth. Stupid, incompetent, ugly. The resident critic sits on our shoulder and also says these things. What does the critic sound like? Well, let's kind of go over what some of you hear all the time from your resident critic. You don't hear it from voices outside, you hear it from voices inside. Negative predictions. things are never going to get better for me. I can't do anything right. I won't ever get the job. I'm not as good as anybody else. I'm sure, look at those people sitting there waiting for this job. I don't look like they do. I'm not going to get that job. I can't possibly be successful. How can I possibly do it? I can't do anything right. I can't even do this interview right. I'm going to say all the wrong things. This is what the resident critic in our head sounds like. Completely changing reality. I look disgusting. Boy, he must be so mad at me. Mad at me. What have I done? Somebody must be mad at me. They can't stand me. I don't think they know how bad I feel. I think these are unhealthy attitudes that all of us have. This is how our resident critic sounds. But we have a healthy voice also. This is the one we want to focus on. All of us have the healthy voice. And what does the healthy voice sound like? Sitting over here on our shoulder. I'm worthwhile. I breathe, I feel. I am aware. I am worthwhile. I feel. I am aware. I breathe. I have life. People appreciate me. I am trying to survive. I do the best I can. I feel pain. I love. I am a good person. I'm a good person. Okay, so I feel pain. I love. I also feel joy. I'm a real person. Give me credit for being who I am and love me a little bit. My pain and my hope and my struggle connects me to everybody else. My pain and my struggle and my hope connect me to you and connect you to me. As human beings, we connect each other through our living our lives together. We have joy and we have pain, we have struggle, and that makes us all humans. That makes us all appreciate each other very more. I'm doing the best I can. I see people in my office all of the time who tell me, Dr. Loveless, I'm doing the best I can. And you know what I say to them when I hear that? I say, thank you for telling me and reminding me that, When we talk about your problems, it's easy for both of us to forget how well you are doing, that you are doing the best you can. That's what the healthy voice says sitting on the shoulder. Now we've had the unhealthy voice, and we've had the healthy voice that comes to our past, and we accept the words of the healthy voice as the basic validity for our self-image, for our self-concept. We all have core values. We were born valuable. Remember what I said to you in the beginning of this program. God looked at what he had done when he made human beings, and it said God was very happy. We are all born special. We all are born with core values. These are never, ever going to go away. At birth, all newborns, we value connection. We value our caregivers. When our mother or father smile at us, we smile back. I was seeing an infant yesterday, in fact. I was amazed, just a little 3-month-older. And this smiley little child was having so much fun. The core value, everybody likes me, I like everybody, I'm born loving, was very, very real. We're given a healthful environment then, as children, we grow up feeling that we're worthy of love. In other words, that comes from our environment. That's important for us to have. In maturity, we have no problems. Our behavior is not a problem for us. It doesn't reduce our value. We are seen as having core values that are worthwhile. We have achieved a deep sense of community and spirituality. This is what happens to us when we have these positive core values. How do I experience my real core values? What are the core values that I have? I want to share them all with you and how they work out in our lives. Actually, improving. The need and the desire to improve is a core value. What do I mean when I say improving? I mean making things better. That's what leadership is. You want to know what leadership is? What leadership does? Leadership is a core value. Leadership makes things better. Improving makes things better. All of us feel better when we help make things better. Appreciating, feeling enriched by a person, by a bird, by a song, or by a person. Anytime we appreciate something else, we are involving our core values. Whether it's a beautiful bird in the backyard, a beautiful sunset, of which we have many all over the world, or appreciating a person. When we simply say, you know something, I appreciate you. You have no idea what that does to you. It does something to them, but it does something to you. One of our core values we are born with as human beings is appreciating, the ability to appreciate somebody else and say, I appreciate you. Connecting is a core value. We're born with this core value. Connecting is a core value. Fitting together with a person or a community. All of us were born to connect. And another interesting core value that all of us have in our lives is protecting, safeguarding the safety of another. We are all born with these core values. And when we engage in these core values, when we make a choice, remember we have a choice, it's our choice, I am me and I'm special. Title of our program today, I am me and I'm okay. And we are all born with these wonderful core values. And when we experience these core values, and we make a choice to use these core values, our self-image is improved. When we choose to say, we're going to make things better here. when we choose to say to other people in other situations, I appreciate you. Sign your notes to colleagues. Sign your notes to your family. I appreciate you. That will make you feel better about yourself. That will make you better, not just feel better. But the thesis of this program is, as we feel, we become. When we feel better by saying, I appreciate you, we are better. When we choose to connect instead of separating from people, we fit together with people and with the community, with our neighborhoods. Sometimes it's not real easy to get acquainted with people in your neighborhood if you're in an apartment house. You see them at night when you come home and maybe in the morning when you leave, and that's about it. It's pretty hard to connect. But all of us feel better, and you know that. When you connect with somebody else, when you make a choice to look at them in the eyes, when you make a choice to ask them how they're doing, when you make a choice to say, I appreciate you, or ask them a question, will you help me with something? Whenever you connect with somebody else, you're connecting with your core value of connecting. And whenever you're protecting someone else, when you're helping someone else, when you're helping an old person, a young person, anybody, it means you are actually involving your own life activity in your core values. All of us are born with the core values of improving, appreciating, connecting, and protecting. And when we engage in these core values, our self-concept, the self-image, the view we have of ourselves, regardless of where we come from or came from, or regardless of the negative things that have happened to us, regardless of the trauma that has taken place in our life that seems to hang around and bother us and give us bad memories, regardless of all of that, when we choose these core values, freely choose them, guess what? It helps us and everyone else. I am me and I am okay. God looked at what he had made and behold, it was very good. Remember, don't try to be perfect. There's no way you can be anyway. But do try today and every day to do better.